Ciao belli! Today we're going to discuss the indirect object in Italian and specifically the indirect object pronouns. Yeah, so they are pronomi complemento indiretto. You use them in English and you use them in Italian. So they have some similarities and some differences in the way that they're used, in the way that they're formed. Let's see some examples. The most important thing is to remember the indirect object will answer to the question to whom and to what. And that's how you will be able to find it. All right? To whom, to what. For example, I give the book to my friend. I give what? I give the book. It's the direct object. I give the book to whom? To my friend, and it is the indirect. Let's see why. You have here a friend, a clueless Lucho, who likes coffee and is a little bit disorganized. So if you pose the question who or what, that will be your subject. If you pose the question to a sentence whom or what, it will be the direct object. Note that the subject will answer to the question who, or let's say he wants some coffee. He is the subject. Why? Because it does something. What does it do? It wants. And then I see him. Who sees? I do. That's why it's the subject. Whom do I see? I see him. That is why it's the direct object. But the indirect object is easier because it always answers to the question to whom, to what. For whom, for what. I made coffee for Lucho. I made coffee for him. I made some coffee for him. For whom, for what? Or to whom, to what? To him, to Lucho. Let's see the examples. I told Lucho that I wanted to make some coffee, but Lucho wasn't listening. Sounds unnatural. Why? Because you said Lucho once, and then you repeated Lucho, and in a normal speech you would say to him instead of the second time mentioning the name, right? Later Lucho asked me to make some coffee for Lucho. That sounds unnatural. Later Lucho asked me to make some coffee for him because he obviously was not listening, because Lucho never listens. He's a clueless Lucho. All right, so let's see another example in Italian. Dai il cibo al tuo amico. Do you give the food to your friend? You is implied. I didn't say that, and it is tu is implied in here, but you can see it from the conjugation dai. Do you give the food? The food answers to the question what? Because it's the direct object. Al tuo amico, to whom? To your friend. So the indirect object most of the time doesn't have to be, but most of the time it's a person. While the direct object is most of the time it is the thing. Another thing in English, you could say I made coffee for him, or you could say I made him coffee. So it's not really clear always in English where the indirect object is. In Italian, it is that a is used before the indirect object. Because the indirect object is al tuo amico. Why? Because it answers to the question to whom, to what, for whom, for what. Yeah? Dici ciao agli studenti. Again, to is skipped because you do not have to say that. It's clear from this conjugation. Dici, it's say, to say. You say hello to the students. Again, I use the a because gli studenti, to whom, to what, for whom, for what, it is the indirect object. All right? So let's see here all of them together. So me means to me, for me, ti, to you, for you, le, formal, male and female both, you, for you, to you. Gli to him, le to her, ci to us, vi to you, plural. That loro is used in an extremely formal speech, so you might not use it, because in a normal conversational language discourse you do not use it. And then loro, it is to them, for them. Luckily they sound exactly the same, it's just the spelling that is different. Okay, you need to memorize this table by heart. You need to memorize it. There is nothing here to understand. It needs to be memorized, okay? Because it is somewhat arbitrary. So let's see some examples. You have here, gli hai dato una mela. You know that mela is an apple. Dato is the past participle form of dare. Gli hai dato una mela. It would be literally to him or to them, which is actually not clear in Italian. It is ambiguous. Hai dato una mela. So it could be translated as you gave an apple to him or to them. It is ambiguous, and it's the context that will tell you exactly what was given to whom. Okay? The next one is vi regalo un libro. And you see here that is you plural. To you, I give a book. Note that the word order in English, it is not I give you a book, but it is to you, I give a book. So the indirect object pronoun is preceding the conjugated verb. The next case would be ci offre una pizza. Ci, you memorized it already, it is to us, indirect object pronoun. Offre, from offrire, to offer, to invite, to give, una pizza. He or she or you formal, it's ambiguous in Italian, it's the context that will tell you, offers to us a pizza, gives to us a pizza. All right, if you see verbs like potere, to be able to, dovere, ought to, has to, volere, to want, then you consider these ones. Voglio darle un libro. I want to give to her a book. I want to give a book to her. But you also can do it this way. Le voglio dare un libro. So the indirect object pronoun, either, as in the case number 1 here, will precede the conjugated verb, or you can add it to the infinitive after dropping e. All right? So in this case, it also makes your language richer, because you can increase the possibilities to express the same idea in different ways. So, posso parlargli, I can talk to him or to them. And also you could say gli posso parlare. Same meaning, slightly different style, because Italian is the language of beauty. So you will see here that if the infinitive comes before a form of potere, volere, dovere, the indirect object pronoun is either attached to the infinitive after the e is dropped, or placed before the conjugated verb, because Italian, it is also a language of freedom. Okay, remember the clueless Lucio? All right, so he got his coffee. Let's see what happened to him. We will translate some sentences. But before, let's see some verbs. I'm not claiming they're all, but there are some verbs that commonly are used with the indirect object, because not verbs can be used with the indirect object. For example, in English, you cannot say to run, and you cannot run to someone, or you cannot sleep to someone, and there's so many other verbs that you cannot do it. Dare, to give. Dire, to say. Domandare, to ask. Mandare, to send. Offrire, to offer, to give. Regalare, to give as a gift. Scrivere, to write. Telefonare, to call. Note that all of the same verbs are using the indirect object pronouns in English as well, except domandare. This one in English takes the direct object, and in Italian, the indirect. And it does happen occasionally. Let's see these sentences. We give him a cat. We decided to give Lucio a cat, so maybe he will be more responsible. We give him a cat. How would you translate that? Easily. You just will go and get the table that you already know. Where is it? The table is right here, and you will know that you need to take the corresponding indirect object pronoun and put it in there before the translating, okay? So she writes him a letter. Lucio's girlfriend writes him a letter. She writes a letter to him. Similar meaning, but slightly different. How would you translate that? And then he calls her tonight. That would be a good moment to stop the video, to translate, and then go to the next page and to check if you're correct. All right, so let's see. You have here your table that you memorized absolutely already, and you know it. So you will see here, we give him a cat. We is noi, give, conjugation. Diamo, him is a gli, and you see here that it is a gli for him. So it's noi gli diamo un gatto. It will be noi gli diamo un gatto. We give him a cat. Okay. The next one is she writes him a letter. It would be, again, you find li right here, to him, and it would be gli scrive una lettera. And I didn't say she because I don't have to say she because it is implied, but if you want to, you could say lei scrive una lettera. See? Gli scrive una lettera. And then for the case number 2, it will be exactly the same. Gli scrive una lettera for this sentence. And then the next sentence is he calls her tonight would be le telefona stasera. He calls her tonight, okay? Because that le, it is to her and not to him, because he will call his girlfriend tonight. So Lucio is happy, had his coffee, he's in love, everything is good. His girlfriend wrote to him. I hope that this lesson was useful and you learned by heart this table and you know how to use the indirect object pronouns in Italian and what the differences are between the subject pronouns and the indirect object pronouns. If it's not clear or if you don't have enough examples, please write to me, let me know, I'll record another one. Otherwise, ciao belli.